YouTube is now using AI to try to determine your age, and it's already leading to false positives, locking adults into restricted teen accounts, which is terrible. A recent Pixel 10 leak suggests not all models will lack a SIM card slot, although we're still in the dark on whether or not that will affect us here in the good old USA. And finally, one of the most bizarre stories of the week was when Perplexity, a rival AI-powered search engine to Google, offered to buy the Chrome browser for $34.5 billion. I'm C. Scott Brown, and it's time for a quick roundup of the biggest tech news that you need to know about. Our first story today centers on YouTube, the thing you're using right now to watch this video. Earlier this week, Google started to roll out a controversial age verification system powered by AI. Essentially, AI takes a look at your YouTube account, examines various factors, including the kinds of videos that you watch, and then determines whether it thinks you're an adult or a teen. If it thinks you're an adult, you can continue using YouTube as usual. If it thinks you're a teen, it automatically shifts your account to a teen account, which includes multiple restrictions on how you can use YouTube. To no one's surprise, this AI system has already led to false positives, with people who are real adults being categorized as teens. Why is Google doing this? Over in the United Kingdom, there's an act of Parliament called the Online Safety Act, which passed in 2023. This act gives Parliament a lot of power over internet age verification systems, and it's using it to force apps and websites to institute age verification checks. The argument is that it's the app or website's responsibility to protect children from viewing inappropriate content online, not their parents. So, what does this have to do with YouTube, which is an American company? Well, over here in the US, the state of Texas faced House Bill 1181, which reflected a lot of the same attributes as the UK's Online Safety Act. The House bill was shot down by the courts as being unconstitutional and a violation of free speech. However, the bill eventually made its way to the Supreme Court, and well, if you know anything about the Supreme Court right now, you won't be surprised to learn that it fully agreed with the bill's intentions. So, now, apps and websites are scrambling to figure out ways to institute age verification checks. Of course, these companies don't want to make things too difficult for users, otherwise they'll just not use the service. So that brings us to our next topic, which is how YouTube's age verification system actually works. Google doesn't want to force its billions of users to fill out some clunky form to prove their age, because that would be bad for business. So it came up with this AI-powered age verification system. According to Google, this AI is trained to examine a variety of signals to determine whether a user is over or under the age of 18. The first problem people saw with this is that there are a lot of things on YouTube that are ostensibly for children, but that adults also enjoy. An adult who's really into Pokemon, for example, might be flagged as a child if all they watch is Pokemon content. Google assured us all that this wouldn't happen often because the algorithm is looking at many different signals, not just the types of videos you consume. Well, this system is rolling out now, and a Reddit thread is already popping with people who say they are over 18 but are seeing this pop up on their YouTube account, which tells them the algorithm has flagged them as being under 18. Wow! It's almost like AI is flawed at its core and shouldn't be the solution for everything. Let's move on to the last thing here, which is what you should do if you are falsely flagged as being under 18 on YouTube. Well, you really only have two options. Prove to Google that you are over 18 by going through a round of security checks, or accept the new restrictions on your account, which includes not being able to watch certain types of videos, being reminded to take breaks and not watch YouTube at bedtime, and reducing certain types of videos from being recommended to you. If you want to prove to Google that you are an adult, you're going to either need to take a selfie and upload it to Google, or upload some sort of official ID. Of course, these aren't great options, as a lot of folks aren't keen on handing Google that kind of information. Unfortunately, those are the options you're stuck with. Let this be a reminder that this situation is a direct result of the United States Supreme Court. So, next time someone tells you that they don't think politics affects them, point to this as an example of why that's not true. Before I get to the next story here, I want to call out that Android Authority has recently expanded significantly. Many of you might know that I have my own channel now where I talk mostly about Pixel phones. I'll leave a link to that in this video's description. But we have an even newer thing going on, which is called the Authority Insights podcast and newsletter. This is run by my friend Mishal Rahman, the undisputed king of Android information. He and I talk on the podcast about what's going on in the world of Android, and our first episode is live right now. I'll leave a link to that in the description too. Our next story centers on the biggest news in Android right now, which is the upcoming launch of the Pixel 10 series. Unless you've been living under a rock, you've no doubt noticed that dozens and dozens of leaks have already happened for the phones, leaving us with very little information we don't already know. One thing we learned from leaks is that the Pixel 10 series might not come with physical SIM card slots, which would be a first for Pixels and an uncommon thing to see in the world of Android. However, a leak this week threw that idea into question. A user on Reddit shared what appears to be a dummy unit of a Pixel 10. We are assuming that it's a dummy because if you look into the USB-C port, you can see that there are no pins in there. It's possible that the lighting is just bad, but our hunch is that this is not a real Pixel 10, but someone's creation of one. However, the really interesting thing here is that there's still a SIM card tray on the dummy. It's at the top of the phone, which in itself is also interesting because it used to be on the bottom. The fact that this dummy has a SIM card slot gives us hope that it won't be all Pixel 10 phones that only use eSIM. So what we're thinking now, based on these photos and previous leaks, is that the three slab phones in the Pixel 10 series, the Pixel 10, Pixel 10 Pro, and Pixel 10 Pro XL, will have SIM card slots in all countries except the United States. The Pixel 10 Pro Fold, though, will probably have a physical SIM slot in all countries. In the end, this should make a lot of sense because it's a very similar strategy as what Apple has been doing. Since 2022 and the launch of the iPhone 14, Apple has only included physical SIM slots in certain countries, and the United States hasn't been one of them. So far, this hasn't seemed to cause much of a fuss, as US-based buyers are still buying iPhones in droves. It's likely that Google saw this and was like, hey, this works for Apple, so why don't we do it? We'll find out for sure next week what the deal is with the SIM card tray, as Google will fully reveal all details about the Pixel 10 series on August 20th. For more information on that, be sure to check out all our rumor roundups at AndroidAuthority.com. Our last story today is really bizarre. Earlier this week, Perplexity announced its intention to buy Google Chrome, the world's most popular browser. This was a wild thing for multiple reasons. First, Chrome is not for sale, so we're not sure why Perplexity would think Google would sell it. Second, the entire value of Perplexity as a company is worth less than half of what it's offering. The third and most wild reason this is crazy is because Perplexity has claimed that it has secret backers who will front them the money for the sale. If this all sounds preposterous, that's because it is. This isn't the first time Perplexity has made headlines with things like this either. Earlier this year, Perplexity's CEO offered to merge with TikTok's US arm to help solve the legal troubles it's facing as the US government tries to deal with the popular app's ties to the Chinese government. The one thing that isn't preposterous about this story, though, is that Google might not be able to hold on to Chrome forever. Legal arguments are mounting that Google has used Chrome in ways that violate antitrust laws in the US, and there have been rumblings that the US government could eventually force Google to sell it. There have also been similar rumblings about Google needing to sell Android too. There's also the Google Play Store. Google just officially lost a long-running battle with Epic Games over the Play Store's rules that are designed to keep Google in control. Google is now being forced to dismantle a lot of those rules, which include allowing app developers to offer payment systems that don't give 30% of the revenue to Google, create new app stores that are downloadable from the Play Store itself, and much more. So while the idea of Perplexity buying Google Chrome is outlandish and almost certainly not going to happen, it is totally possible that Chrome could need to be broken up or even sold to someone else at some point down the road. However, it will be years before that happens, if it ever does. So if you're a Chrome user, there's no need to worry about anything just yet. That's it for this roundup. If you want to dive deeper into these stories, be sure to check all the links down below. Remember to like and subscribe so you'll be notified as soon as the next roundup goes live. See you all soon.